Hello, friends. I wanted to spend a couple of minutes just sharing about my new book that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. Here it is. It's called Prayer, the Language of the Spirit. One day I was reading Genesis chapter 5, verse 24, and it says this. It says, Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. I love that scripture. In the Amplified, it reads, and Enoch walked in habitual fellowship with God, and he was not, for God took him home with him. I love that expression. Enoch walked in habitual fellowship with God. And so in this little prayer book, which is really 12 short chapters, I just proofed it, and it took me less than 2 hours to get through it. So it's an easy read, but it talks about prayer from the inside out. You know, I believe that God's pattern is to invade the heart of an individual and then work himself from the inside out in that person's life and then manifest himself to the world. And so this little book has to do with just cultivating that kind of walk with the Lord. Conversational prayer. I talk a little bit about conversational prayer, about the spirit of prophecy, enjoying your prayer life, enhancing your communion with God. You know, if you're not enjoying your prayer time or your prayer life, really there's something wrong. Prayer ought to be enjoyable. We ought to cultivate a real presence of God in our lives where we're walking with him continually. It's developing an awareness of his presence in us and with us all day long, not just in our prayer closet and our devotional time, but just throughout the day. The people that are I think the people that enjoy, let me say it like this, I think the people that enjoy the Lord the most are people that have really cultivated a receptivity and a sensitivity to God in their lives. I know people that can pray hours every day, and I know others that don't pray in large amounts of time like that, and yet they're more sensitive and they're more receptive to the Spirit of God and to the presence of God. Why is that? Well, it's simply because they've developed a 24/7 awareness of the Lord in their lives, and not just, you know, in their prayer closet. In other words, they don't live a compartmentalized life where prayer is one part of their lives, and then, you know, work is another part, and you know, family time is another part. I remember one time I was taking a walk in the woods and having some prayer time, and I was really getting frustrated because I was spending some time with my wife and our son. This is years ago. And I was getting agitated because I wanted to get out to the woods and have some time with the Lord. And the Lord spoke to me and said that I was not looking at my prayer time and my fellowship with him. I wasn't having the right perspective on it. He said, I want you to enjoy me with your family. He said, I'm not just in the woods. I'm here with you and your family. I'm not just in the woods, but I'm living inside of you. I'm in your heart. You don't have to run to the woods to go find me. You don't have to go to a quiet place necessarily, although I believe in solitude. I believe quiet time is important. But he was talking about, you know, me developing a greater awareness that he's with me and with you always 24/7. And so this book has a lot to do with cultivating that kind of prayer life, because you can only pray the way you live, and vice versa. You can only live the way you pray. If you live in the flesh, you can't pray in the Spirit. If you live in the flesh, you can't live in the Spirit. And so this book has to do with the spiritual, just making the totality of our lives a life of prayer. I believe that's what the Bible means when it says to pray without ceasing. In other words, to carry an attitude of prayer, to carry a spirit of prayer, to cultivate an awareness of his presence all day long. So anyway, I wanted to let you know about this book, some of what's in it. Again, the name of it is Prayer, the Language of the Spirit. It'll be out in a couple of weeks. Look for it. God bless you, and I hope you get the book, and I hope it helps you. All right, be blessed.